We're going to go ahead and get started then. All right, let's see if oh good, it seems to want to be telling me that it's right. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're going to sort of get our brains wrapped around what we've been learning for the last couple months, since we had that break. It takes us a minute. So we're going to have a water quote. So this is just going to kind of remind us about all the things, it's not from our One Well book, but actually it's inside your workbook. So everybody turn to page 54 for just a minute. Page 54. And all you're going to see is the quote. And I just want you to think about it. So today, I hope you brought, so we are going to use our EL spirals today, because we are going to be thinking and writing today. So if you didn't bring an EL spiral, or if you don't have one right next to you at home, you are going to want to find that. So here's our water quote. Everybody have found page 54 for me? Give me a thumbs up if you're there for me, so I know you're ready. Thanks, Max Fox. He's ready. Mr. Ben, are you finding page? You're good? All right. Mr. Leo, thank you so much. Jensen, page 54. Did you find it in your, okay, get it in your workbook, page 54. Mr. Gavin, are you good? Page 54. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So here's our water quote. I want you just to read along with your eyes as I read it out loud. It is easy to take something for granted when it's always there. In places rich with clean water resources, there are watered lawns, clean cars, and long showers. I want you to take a moment to think about that. We're stopping right there for a second. I want you to think about your life. We don't necessarily have lawns at our houses in the city. I mean, the city they do, but we don't necessarily, in ours. Some of you might have a lawn. My house, I don't have a official lawn. Clean cars. Think about that for a minute. How many of you have had your parents go onto a car wash in, say, the last maybe month? Okay, so if you've been to the car wash in the last month or so, think about that. All right. Okay, next one. Long showers. How many have had a nice shower or a nice bath in the last bit? In the last week, took a long shower or bath. I know I had one. All right, good job. All right. Here's the next one to think about. Are you ready? We're going to go to the next section right after the first stop sign. Comprehending the global need for water is difficult. The tap turns, the water comes out. It is unimaginable to even think of walking a great distances every day to throw a bucket into a swamp and call what comes out drinking water. So I want you to think about that for a second. Yes, real quick. Take a moment. So I want you to think about what the closest water source to your house is, not the well or not your tap, but I want you to think where close to your house there might be some water. Might be a creek, might be, just a little waterway of some sort. Might be pretty far away if you can't think of one. Imagine having to walk that distance with a bucket to get your water. Okay. What does that make you think, Miss Lila?
So we have a tiny little pond by our house, and it has water in it.
Okay. Does it have water year round?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a pond. Is it a clean? Would you feel comfortable drinking? So Lila was just telling us that she has a pond near her house that has water in it year round. Would you feel comfortable drinking water out of it?
I don't know.
She's not sure about that. All right, last stop after the net, last bit after that stop sign. More than 1 billion people in the world are currently in need of clean drinking water. So that's what we've been focusing on, isn't it? About how we are pretty lucky and about how there are people who don't have very great access to water, don't have that, advantage that we have. We also have been talking about pollution, and that's where we ended before spring break. We kind of focused mostly on how that water is being, the water that we do have that is clean is being compromised by other people and companies and businesses and people who probably don't even realize that when they're littering and doing some of those things that they're really affecting other things. So what do you think this author is trying to tell us in this magazine? This came from, if you look at the bottom, it says Need, the Humanitarian Magazine. It was from 2007. So have things changed much since 2007? Not really. We do have, there are people who are making progress on some of these things for sure, but we still have this general problem. Okay. So what do you think the author is trying to tell us about water? Why would the author do that? Astrid, what do you think?
That it's important.
That it's important. Important for just those, people who need that water? No, important for everybody to take care of. Okay, Sunny, what were you going to add? Okay, same thing. Miss Lila, what would you like to add?
I would like to add that, like, some people don't have what they need, and it's important because you can't live without water.
Can't live, yeah, because people certainly can't live without water. What do you think? Oh, I don't have my dot camera on. You can say it anyway. So, what does take for granted mean? What does take for granted mean? What does that mean? It's instead of, I usually ask a vocabulary one word. This is a phrase, right? August, what do you think this means?
So,
Take for granted.
So, for example, let's say you want to stay at your friend's house for like a day, and you stay there for like 3 days. They allow it. That's taking for granted.
Ah, okay. So when you do something that wasn't expected or for longer than needed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Abby, what do you think take for granted means?
I think take for granted means
Forgot what you were going to say. What do you think? Some other friends here. What do you think, Leo? What do you think take for granted means? So the sentence was, it's easy to take it for granted. Not sure? It's okay. Haley, what do you think? Take for granted. What do you think that phrase means, Miss Haley Calendar?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? All right. That's okay. Thanks. All right. What do you think, Max?
Taking it no matter what.
Taking it no matter what? Okay. Mr. Josh C over there. What do you think take for granted means?
Maybe like you take something.
To take it?
Yeah.
Okay. To keep it for your own? Okay. Logan, what do you think? Take for granted.
I think it means like how much time, because my parents they take for granted like a certain amount of time sometimes.
Okay, so he says it seems to maybe when his parents use it, it has to do with time, taking time for granted. Okay, Ellie, what do you think?
Not taking care of it.
Not taking care of it. Okay, what do you think, Layla?
So I think take for granted means like someone does something nice for you and you're like, I want more.
Ah, okay. So she said it's like when somebody gives you something and you want more even. So let's read this sentence again. It is easy to take something for granted when it is always there. So our definition that we're going to use for the moment. So you guys, we're hitting on some of it. It's when you to not appreciate something or to not treat it in the right way, to treat it carelessly. So you could take your mom for granted or your dad for granted if they're always doing something for you and you don't, and you're not very thankful. So like I like the idea about, when somebody gives you something and you're expecting it, like maybe when your grandparents, I know that my kids are pretty spoiled by their grandparents, my own children. And I always have to make sure you better write a thank you note, right? You better not take it for granted because they're not always going to be around. And if you don't appreciate it, there's that word appreciate. If you don't appreciate what you get, they're going to stop giving you something, right? If you're not thankful for it. So how would that work for water? How would that work for water then? Abby, what do you think? If we take water for granted.
So there's like a little bit, but you won't more.
Okay, so or you
trying to get in a well and then you are expecting more.
Okay, so if you had tiny amount of water and you were expecting more. Okay, Sunny, what do you think?
I think it's that people are taking more and not being fair, not letting other people have any clean water that they need.
So Sunny's idea is that some people are taking more of it and not letting other people have it, okay, or helping them get it. Okay, just using as much as they want. Okay, awesome. You guys have some great ideas. Okay, so I wanted to get your brains readjusted to what we've been talking about before we move on to new things, right? So on page, let's see, in your book, it's page 34. So I want you to turn to page 34. Oh, and I may not have made a copy of mine. Oh no. So let me grab page 34. We didn't fill this out yet, and we filled out all of our other captures, haven't we? So we're going to have to add, let me grab, sorry, Miss Harrison she got everything else prepared, but she did forget one thing. All right, page 34. So I know that it's been a while, so look back to page 33 for a second. So your page is filled, mine is not. Page 33, look at some of the main ideas that we had about our One Well book when we were talking about our different, I just sent Mrs. Aubin with all of my page 33s for my friends who were taking their test, but this page should have been helpful for you a little bit for the test. Well, okay, you want to come stand by me while I use it real quick? Okay, thank you, because I just gave all of them to Mrs. Aubin. All right, so here, you guys had a similar, here we go. So some of the main idea was water is becoming more polluted, so there's less clean water available. Nearly 80% of sicknesses are caused by unclean water. Pollution from the air causes acid rain, and that comes from cars, right? And businesses that have pollution that come from the factories. That goes into the air, and then it becomes acid rain, or even we decided even acid snow, and it even goes all the way to the Arctic, right, Lucas? It can go, and we talked about how the whole world is connected, not only within that water, but like think about the weather, right? We ended up with Mexican dust in our snow, that last big snowstorm, right? That's pretty far away, isn't it? Did you tell your dad? Every day, 1.8 million tons of garbage is dumped into our water. Now, that's tons. Tons is 2,000 pounds. So 1.8 million tons. We could do some math there and find out how many pounds that is. That's a lot of garbage every day. More people cause more waste, right? Because we're getting more people all the time. Those people are causing, more waste to be done, more trash, more flushing of the toilet, right? All of that, using the water, washing our clothes, more people all of that adds up after a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It certainly does. And more people we get, the more clothes they need, the more things we buy, the more waste products we end up with. So keeping that in mind, thank you, ma'am. On page 34, what are some of the things that, obviously, what is the issue? Issue is the problem, right? Ms. Cernay, did you want to add something, sweetie?
No, I just don't know what page.
We're on page, well, we were looking at page 33, but now we're looking at page 34. That's the page that we did not finish. I had my teacher page for that one we just looked at, but I didn't want to do that one. All right, so let's look at the issue. Oh, I do have one. Look at that. Mrs. Harrison was prepared. I see this. I got prepared for today's lesson like a week and a half ago. So, trying to remember what I did a million years ago is a little hard. Okay, so what is the problem? What's the issue? Axe Fox, what's the issue? What's our problem that we just talked about?
The issue is that like people do not use enough clean water. Like we're running out of like clean water.
We're running out of clean water because what?
Because people are using the water.
And the water is becoming, I'll give you a hint. Look at the top up what it says up here. Because it's becoming polluted. So our fresh water is becoming polluted. We only have so much of it, right? We know we only have so much of it. And it's becoming polluted. That's our big issue. Well, why is that a problem? Why does that affect people? Astria. We need water to survive, right? And less fresh water. What happens, Henrik, if people go and use dirty water or polluted water? What happens to people? They get sick, right? So less fresh water. And and we know that if it's dirt, if it's polluted, definitely not going to be good. Less fresh water causes sickness. And because we, as Astria said, we need it, right? Super need it. And less water for humans to use. Yes, can I finish my writing? And I will make it bigger. Thank you for asking. All right, gotta move things around again. Here we go. Thanks for asking, Mr. Noah. Advocating for yourself, I appreciate that. All right, is that better? So, and we know, because Astria said humans need water to survive, right? So if we have less water, is that going to become a problem? Definitely. And less fresh water causes sickness. So if we don't have that, if like Henrik said, if people are drinking polluted water, now that just doesn't mean just dirt in it, right? We're talking chemicals, fertilizers, detergents. I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but have you ever had, Haley, like accidentally gotten some soap on your hands or something and then like not completely washed it off and then accidentally tasted it? What does that taste like? It tastes horrible, doesn't it? So sometimes my dishwasher doesn't like all of the, for some reason there's this one spot in my dishwasher that when the soap comes out of the dispenser, it doesn't completely rinse it off for some reason in this one spot. And so sometimes if I accidentally use a dish from that little section and I don't check it out first, and I put something on that dish and then I eat it, and then I'm like, oh, no. I mean, it's horrible because it's like spaghetti, but with soap on it. It's horrible, right? So imagine that detergent ending up in some sort of water system. How's that water going to taste? Is it going to make your tummy feel very good? And if it's depending on the concentration of it, how much you have, that could be a really that could really make you sick, right? It could really be yucky. All right, so are we worrying about our actions yet? Because did they tell us what to do about that? Did they tell us how to fix this problem yet? No, they said obviously don't pollute. That's the obvious answer, right? Not to pollute. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, call to action. Why is it important to deal with this? Why should I care about whether or not the water somebody else is getting dirty? Mine's fine. I turn on the tap, it's fine. I don't know. It works for me. What do you think? What would be our problem? Why would that be a problem, Abby?
Eventually, water won't be just clean and then it'll get dirty.
Okay, eventually, do we have a possibility of all the water being affected? Okay, so, and I like that word all, because if all of the water, because if 1.8 tons of water is happening, sorry, 1.8 tons of garbage is going in the water every day, how is that eventually going to affect all? I mean, isn't that going to affect all the water pretty soon? Because that does, when you guys put something into, like when you put something into water, what does it eventually, like, does it just stay in one little spot? Like when you put some soap in like when you put a little bubble bath in the bathtub, does it just stay where you poured it? No, it does what? It circulates, right? It moves through the water. It dilutes itself, right? Same thing when you put, like when you make hot chocolate or when you or chocolate milk, right? When you pour something into something, does it just stay where you poured it? No, it dilutes, it moves around, right? So if eventually that detergent, and those fertilizers, and those other things that we are putting in our water, eventually that's going to get to all of our water, isn't it? It's going to affect all of our water. And if all of the water is polluted, who's going to get sick now? All the humans, right? We. And when we say we mean us and all the humans, right? What will happen if we drink that water? We're going to get sick from it. All right. What's my source? Or what's my source so far? That's Layla?
Right now, your source is pages 30. Your page is page 33.
Well, what did page 33 in our workbook come from? In 24 and 25 and one well, right? Oh.
After it fell,
Uh-huh.
and when it melted, it was all dirty.
Ah, so even though, yeah, nowadays, you really can't even guarantee that snow that comes from the sky is perfect, right? We have to assume that now, because remember, it's constantly recirculating, right? So even though a lot of our water cycle helps to keep that water clean that's coming out of the sky, right? The rain and the snow. Oh, it really flew. All right, thank you. I had a feeling if I didn't keep my hand there, it was gonna go. But all right, here we go. I'll hold it. So even though we assume, we learned about, right, that the earth actually has a pretty good system for cleaning, doesn't it? Think about like, say that again. Add that in again, my friend. Say it one more time. Is that Ethan? Was that you? Or Jensen? That was you.
I just accidentally unmuted.
Okay. All right. So we know that the plants help clean the water, right? Because they take in some of that through their roots, then they transpire clean water back into the air. We know that the groundwater clears through. I'm actually seeing this happen in real life right now, and I don't know if some of you are, but the water that's going through because the snow is melting so fast, the water is going into my well really fast and it's not doing its slow thing so it's not getting filtered on the way back down to my well. So it's because it's melting so fast, it's rushing faster into my groundwater, into my well. And so my well water is a little, there's nothing bad about it, but it's a little bit yellower or browner than usual. And it's basically just what we call tannins. It's some of the things that, again, that those rocks and that sand and the earth would have normally cleaned out before it got there. But because there's so much water going into my system at once, it leaves a little bit of that. And it's not unsafe, but it sure doesn't look great. And we have a water filter that we get all of our drinking water from. So that gets filtered. So I'm not drinking brown water, but like the water that goes into the toilet and the water that goes into the shower looks a little brown. And it's not because I was super dirty. It just happens to be that color for right now. And it'll stop as soon as things stop melting so much. So I don't know if that happens to any of your wells, but my well is not as deep as we'd love it to be. And so it's closer to where that water's melting than some other people's for sure. All right, so now we've got these note catchers are going to come in handy, right? Because we're going to be using them later for doing some writing. And I'm even going to show you what that is. So if you quickly look, I'm skipping ahead for a second, but if you look in your workbook at page, skipping ahead a little bit here, just for a moment. Page, yes, honey. That's okay. I'll make you a copy of it. Yes. All right. Page 57 for just a minute. I'm going to make this not quite so big because you guys all have one. Page 57. The reason we're making all these note catchers has to do with you are going to write an opinion essay. Is everybody on page 57? Page 57. Give me a thumbs up if you're there. Mr. Gavin, did you find page 57 for me? Thank you. Jensen, page 57. Ms. Haley's good. Mr. Ben, did you find page 57? Thanks, Leo. Yes. So you don't need to have all this memorized, but I want you to keep it. I want to expose you to it because it's something we're going to be doing and probably next week for sure. So I just want you to look that we're drafting an opinion piece. So a lot of our writing that we've done so far has been about frogs and facts, right? Things that we've learned about. This one has to do with a little bit of an opinion. You're going to choose some information, the thing that you think is important. So your task, it says you have been learning about some serious issues with the world's water. Write an essay urging people to get involved in water conservation. Other students and parents will read your writing to learn more about why it is important to take care of this resource. So you're going to be writing an essay, and that essay will give readers information needed to understand the topic. So is that note catcher going to come in handy then? Yes. We're going to give reasons for our opinions, but we have to support them with facts and details. We are going to connect our opinion with reasons using linking words and phrases. You remember those linking words? Those are going to come in handy again. We're going to follow, of course, the rules of writing. And we are going to use a lot of our note catchers. You won't use all of the note catchers because you're going to focus your work on one situation, either demand, or you're going to look at pollution, or you're going to look at access. So there are three main things that we've been working on. I'm going to take this away for the moment. And I want you to think about We're going to read some things in one well in a little bit, but what I want you to start with, I want you to grab that EL spiral for a second. Take out that EL spiral because I'm going to have you look at some pictures and I'm going to have you think about which problem you think this is. So these are your three things that we're worrying about. Okay. Challenges to having clean water. I'm letting you get out your spiral and find a nice clean page there. So first, I want you to do some thinking about what's going on out in the world and which problem might be occurring, because you have to be able to identify, is it demand for water? Is it access to water, getting the water, or is it pollution that can be seen in this particular? So there's three choices: demand, pollution, or access. All right, so I'm going to show you, I'm going to use my dot camera first. Yep. All right, so here's my first picture. Oh, I'm going to turn off that light so it's not all shiny. Oh, that didn't help. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, so just take a look at the first picture. You're not going to write on this one. I'm going to pretend I'm you, and I'm going to do the first one for us, okay? So I'm thinking about this picture, and I'm looking at it carefully. I'm going to make it a little bigger. All right. Doesn't help me too much here. All right, how's that one? All right, my friends at home, can you see that picture well enough? Thanks, Leo, for giving me a head nod. Ben, can you see the picture? Okay, so I think that this is a challenge with water because obviously I see a woman. She doesn't look like she's necessarily from around here. So someplace else. She's carrying a bucket. I'm going to assume that she's carrying a bucket because she was collecting water. And I'm also looking at the ground, and I don't know that you can see this as well as I can, but I see some trash that's located here. So what might I think about the water then? If there's trash here, is there likely to be trash in the water? So is this a problem it's obviously a problem. So think about my three choices. Is this an access to clean water problem? Does this person have access to clean water? No, because if they did, would they be going to this place to get it? So this is a problem with access. Does it look like there's plenty of water there though? Well, it doesn't look like maybe that everybody is demanding a huge amount of water. Like it looks like she can get some. So I don't think it's a demand problem. I think it's a access problem. Is it also a pollution problem? Yes. So are there two problems involved here? Access and also pollution. Okay. So I'm going to give you, now it's your turn. So with your spiral, I'm going to show you a picture. And I want you to tell, so at the top here, it says, I think this could be a challenge of, so demand or access or pollution. Those are your three choices. And why you think so. Here's your picture. Look at the picture. What do you think this is a challenge of? Demand, access, or pollution? Write down right now. Write down what you think. Do you think it's a demand problem? Here, I'm gonna make it a little. I think I made it a little. Did I ever? Okay, make it so you can see the whole sentence and the picture. There you go. Can you see that? Okay, Ben. Ben, can you see it? Mr. Bowers. Ben. Can you see it?
Not really.
Not really. So there's some mountain or a mountain here. It's our sky. Here's some trees down here. All right. Who would like to share their idea? What kind of problem do you think this is? Demand, access, or pollution? Which one do you think, Serne? Access and pollution. And why do you think so? Because this has got the because. Tell me why you think so. Okay, so we're on this picture now. Do you see trash on this picture? So, yeah, we were, and now we're on this one. So, oh, not so, okay, so what are you thinking for this one then? You want to call on somebody else for now and then come back? Okay, you don't have anything yet? Okay, Elena?
I think it's
Demand. What do you think, Lucas? Demand. What do you think, Abby? Access. Charlie, what do you think? Demand. Okay, Sunny, what do you think? Access. What do you think, Cole? Demand and access. Max Fox, what do you think? Access to clean water. Okay, let me see. My friends at home. Mr. Gavin, what do you think it is?
I think it's demand.
And why do you think it's demand? Why do you think so?
Because it looks. Actually, I think it's access.
Well, I think actually you were right on both accounts, buddy. But what was your first idea? Why did you think it was demand?
Because it looked like the people there drank all the water.
Yeah, I can't see any water. Can you? So you're right, Gavin. So there's a demand that obviously isn't being met. And Gavin, I think you're right too with access, right? Because it must be hard to find it. Haley Calendar, what did you choose?
I chose access.
Access, because it looks like it might be hard to get to the water.
Uh-huh.
Get enough. Okay, how many of you chose access? Raise your hand. And you can choose more than one. It's okay. How many picked demand? How many picked pollution? Okay, so I don't see a lot of pollution because we can't see the pollution, right? So at this point, we don't know. It doesn't look like there's a city around. It doesn't look like there's people around. So it's probably not necessarily a pollution problem, but we can't see it for sure. Okay, here's your next one. Decide what you think. I'm gonna put away here. Let me put this somewhere else so you guys can't. Trying to find a good place to put that. All right, so write down what you think. Right now in your yellow spiral. What do you think this is showing? I think this could be a challenge of blank because blank. What are you thinking? Lennox, what do you think? Access and pollution. Okay. Lila Maris, what do you think?
Demand because they are carrying water on their back, whereas that's what it looks like.
Okay.
There's only so much of it.
Only so much they can take with them. Okay. No worries. Abby, what are you thinking?
Pollution and access.
Pollution and access. Okay, why do you think so?
Because in the background, I see like a lot of dust, and that you water at the end of the hill, and the dust is getting in the water.
Okay. All right.
Access because it's a long way down.
Okay. All right. I like your backup information there. Very good. Mr. Gavin, what are you thinking?
I think it's access because it doesn't look like they have that much water.
Okay. All right. And what do you see that makes you think that? What in the picture makes you think that?
Because they're not carrying very much water.
Okay. All right. So are you putting your because part on your yellow spiral? You need to be backing up your idea. All right. Good job, Gavin. So make sure you say I think it's demand, or I think it's access, or I think it's pollution, because you have to back up your idea. All right. We're going to be taking that CMAS test, and they're going to be asking us to prove our answer, right? Why do you think what you think? We want you to prove your answer. Charlie Carr, what are you thinking? Okay. Okay. Well, luckily we've been talking about, right, that women and children have been carrying the water themselves. At least in this situation, we have some pack animals, right? Does that seem to be a better route, at least a little bit, Cole, do you think, than carrying it yourself? Yeah, and we don't see the humans, so we don't know what exactly the humans are, you're right, Cooper? We don't know, maybe they're carrying water too. We don't know, but from what we see, right, we see these donkeys and they have what appears to be some large containers strapped to them, right? And what are we assuming they're putting in those containers? Water, right? And it looks like the water's from over here. So definitely, we probably have an access problem here because are they having it at their house? Obviously not, otherwise they wouldn't be coming this far, right? So we obviously have an access issue. So I definitely see demand. So we're not seeing a lot more people need, I mean, we don't know if there's a lot of people involved here, but so my demand idea is a little hard to, you'd have to really work hard to explain that one. But it looks like maybe the reason they have so many jugs is maybe they have a lot of people to be giving the water to. We're not really sure. We can make a case for that. And I don't see a lot of pollution, but again, if we're getting our water from, this place, maybe it's hard to tell. What are you thinking, Abby? There's something going on here.
Containers and the water was
Ah, okay. So we're not sure what the water inside those containers looks like. All right. What do you think about this one? I think this could be a challenge because what do you think? Write it down, write it in your spiral. What do you think? I think this could be a challenge of blank because blank. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger for my friends at home. Ooh. Everything's got to be complicated. Here we go. Does that help a little bit, friends in the back? In the home. All right. Mr. Sawyer, what are you thinking? Access? Problem to access? What makes you think so? Prove it to me. Okay, the water's brown. Okay, but access is getting the. Okay, so the brown water is telling you pollution. Okay, Gabe, what are you thinking? Access and pollution. Okay, why? It looks like they have to carry it from far away. She's got kind of a lot of things going on here, doesn't she? Looks like I'm confused about how exactly she's going to carry all those back. Maybe there are some more people we don't know about in here, but definitely access. She's got a lot of situations here. And you said pollution. And why do you think pollution, Gabe? The water looks pretty brown, doesn't it, from our viewpoint? What are you thinking, Cole? Okay, it does look like she has to walk fairly far, and you're right, it doesn't look deep, does it? In fact, so we might not, we're not sure about the water quality, we've decided, but it also, when water is pretty shallow and you can see the bottom, what do you often, it might just be the fact that it's so shallow that you can't see it. Mr. Paxton, you just walked back in, and I know you did. So we're just writing what we think in our spiral. We have three choices. We have access, whether we think this is an access problem, getting to the water, having water available, or demand, lots of people needing it, or pollution being that's not safe. What are you thinking, Alina?
I think it's access.
You think it's access to water? And what makes you think so?
Because behind there's barely any puddles and it's very hard to see.
Very hard to see. Okay, very good. All right, one last one. I've got to get to, so here's our last one. What do we think might be our challenge with this one? Mr. Max, you're writing down what you think. Miss Haley, you're writing down what you think. Writing down what you think. What do you think? Why? And then you have to back it up. So this is our sentence, Mr. Paxton. I think this could be a challenge of delay, and then some reason why you think so. Because what do you think in August? What do you think that might be access? Okay. Why do you think so? She looks like she's carried those buckets a long time. Do those buckets look like they're full of water right now? No, it looks like she's heading there, right? Yeah, she's heading there. It's kind of swinging a little bit, so it's probably like, Haley, what are you thinking? Ah, okay, so there's a few people already there trying to get it. Okay. Lamaris, what do you think?
So I think it's access because he has buckets, and it doesn't look like the water's very dirty over there, and it also doesn't look like he has very many buckets to get so much and like fill it from others.
Okay.
And for the other one, I thought
All
all three.
three. Okay, Serne, what are you thinking? Okay, yeah, that's not gonna, if that's what she's hoping for today, Mr. Nay, would that be enough for you for the whole, for your whole family for the day, do you think? Those two buckets were? Do you think your family would do a good job with those two buckets, or would they need more, do you think?
I think that would be fun.
Hard to, I mean, you probably, if you really had to, right? You could probably survive on those two buckets of water for your family, but we probably aren't used to that. So it might be hard, right? Cole, what are you thinking? Oh, okay. All right. Those are some good cases for access for sure. What are you thinking, Abby?
If they focus on the big, he's probably trying to get more of his family, big family, and it all in the bucket.
Okay. So two buckets better than one, right? So probably get, and why do you think the stick? Why do you think the stick is there? How does that help? What is that doing for a Max box? What are you thinking?
It helps because it's easier to carry.
Okay.
Because like when you're only like two buckets that full of water, it's kind of pretty heavy.
Right.
And once you have like something up on your phone like a stick, it helps you move it.
Okay, so it's helping her arms. Does she think? Do you think that maybe she has to carry it pretty far then? Yeah. If she's got that going on there, so that's another possible clue to us that she maybe is taking this pretty far. So if I had I don't know what I usually have a picture of a busy city that goes here, but I don't know where it went. So what would be our busy city? What would we pick for access, demand, or pollution if we were talking about a busy city? What do you think, Josh? Pollution might be a problem. Definitely. Lennox, what else might be a problem? And demand, because if it's a big city, we'd have pollution probably coming from factories, coming from cars. And then if we have a city, we have more people. And that means more people means more water, which means more demand. Very good. Nice job, my friends. All right, so I think you're getting the concept of what the three differences are between our problems, because there are three, and they're very connected though, right? When we looked at those pictures, we came up with, many of them had more than one choice, right? Because those the three problems can occur together for sure. You can have all three, you can have two, you can have just one, but all of them are a possibility. Okay, grab that one well book. I said you were going to need it. We're going to read pages 26 and 12. 27 is just a picture. So page 26. I'm going to make it smaller because you have your own version at home and you do not need mine. All right, page 26. I'm going to turn that light back on. So it's 27, but 27 is just a picture. So, all right. So here are all of our problems. And we've talked about, hey, what are we going to do about these? And so far they haven't given us any ideas, right? So let's see if this helps a little bit. Maybe, maybe not. So this is called saving the water in the well. That would be a good idea, huh? Yes. All right, let's read it together and we're gonna do a little bit of just a little bit of work inside your workbook. Yep. Here we go. So your eyes are on your page, not on me. The words are not written across my forehead. I cannot get that. Yeah. All right, here we go. So I'm looking for all eyeballs on your book. All eyeballs on your book. Here we go. Water has the power to change everything. A single splash can sprout a seed, quench a thirst, provide a habit, generate energy, and sustain life. It also has the power to unite or divide the world. Water is the most basic and important need of all life on Earth. But Earth's one well is in trouble. There is simply not enough clean water to go around. Taking action to conserve water can help save the well. All right, I'm glad you're reading with your eyes. Some of us are also reading with our mouths, which might be making it hard to hear. Conserving water means protecting both the quantity and the quality of water on Earth. For example, using less water helps prevent water sources from drying up. And reducing water pollution protects the overall health of the well. Water conservation can help ensure there's enough clean water for everyone on the planet. By becoming more aware of how you use water and by using less, you too can protect the water in Earth's one well. Remember, every drop counts. Okay, so we're gonna be close readers, as we always are. And you're gonna keep that open because we need to, but also be on page 55 in your, you're gonna have to turn it sideways to right. Yes. Page 55, we're looking at page 26 of One Well. All right, I'm gonna reread paragraph 1 and we're gonna figure out what is the gist. So it's been a while since we had gist, right? But gist means what it's mostly about, right? All right, so I'm going to read paragraph 1 again. Water has the power to change everything. A single splash can sprout a seed, quench a thirst, provide a habitat, generate energy, and sustain life. It also has the power to unite or divide the world. Water is the most basic and important need of all life on Earth. All right, so what is our main idea? I think that last sentence is very powerful for our idea there. Last idea, Miss Maris, what are you thinking?
I think that the gist is water is really important to life on Earth, and that water can help you.
Oh, give me my other pen. It can help you survive. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I like the word important. We're going to get the word important in there for sure. But water is, look at that first sentence. Water has the power to change everything. So water is powerful. Water is powerful because it is the most basic And here's that word important, important need for who? Not just us. Ah, for all life on earth. Oop, I'm gonna take over that spot right there. Serena, do you want to move forward a little bit? For page 55 in your workbook. Page 55. I can. But you can also use your own words. You don't have to write it exactly like I did. You just want to say water. You like Lila had a great idea there. I mean, she said water is important because everything needs it. And the reason I wanted to stick powerful in there because that other sentence also said it has the power to unite or divide. So if there's a small puddle and there are lots of tadpoles living in that puddle, are all those tadpoles going to survive? Probably not. What have we learned about living creatures? They need enough, they need whatever they need to survive, right? So if there's not enough water, Josh, for all of those tadpoles, are all the tadpoles going to live? Nope. Are they going to fight over that water? Probably, right? Survival of the fittest. We learned a little bit about that in when we talked about science before spring break, right? When the environment changes, if you don't change with it, you're going to die. Yeah, we talked about that, right? If the living creatures there don't adapt in some way, they're not going to live. So think about, and do you think people fight over water? Yes. It also can be if you have a community that's using a water source. I will tell you that sometimes when they try to put in new communities in Conifer, like try to build some new like residential neighborhoods, the people who already live here don't want to do it. Don't want them to build it. Why? Because that'll take water for them and away from us and the people or whoever else already lives there, right? So Mr. Cole, we're on page 55. So that is something that we can actually, that people actually that can divide people as well. You know, it becomes one of those things that people fight over. When you don't have enough of something, sometimes, and it's something that helps you survive, you might fight over it. Okay, are there any words? There's a word generate. What does generate mean? Generate. It says generate energy. What would generate mean? What do you think, Logan? To make, to make or to produce. Yep. Oh, okay. To produce or make, generate says generate energy. Remember how we had hydroelectric power? It made power. There's this word sustain. What do you think sustain means? I'll read the sentence. It says sustain life. It has the power to, or it says provide a habitat, generate energy, and sustain life. What do you think, Sunny? Oh, produce, sorry. Thank you for telling me. After, what do you think sustain means? So sustain life, so is it making life? You're on the right track. Isabella, help her out a little. Oh, okay. It provides or what was that other word you said? Able to support, right? I like support. I didn't have that word, but I like it. Provides or supports basic needs. Yeah. I like it. There we go. I like supports. I didn't have that one. I like it. All right. All right. We're going to stop there for today. So we'll finish this up tomorrow and move on to a new source of information. All right, my friends at home, go ahead and if you finish at least that first section there, that if you haven't, that the first section, don't worry about the next two. We'll get those done tomorrow. And if you haven't yet worked on Amplify, or if you have, hey, Leo, I still need Mr. Leo and Mr. Gavin. Don't leave yet. I still need you guys to do your science from last week, okay? So they were morning assignments before. We had, before, they were the 8 o'clock assignment in the morning. It says whale of a tail, it says natural selection and fossils and dinos. So Leo, can you spend some of your time working on those? There's 3 assignments. All right, Mr. Gavin, can you work on those for me? Mr. Gavin? So we kept it, so there are 3 science assignments from last week, okay? Yes, Miss Haley.
What's my Amplify login passwords?
Oh, can you give me a second and I'll find that. I'll let everybody else go, and I'll find that real quick for you. All right. All right, let me grab. All right. Okay, let me find this for Haley real quick. All right, Miss Haley. All right, let's find it. Let's see. All right, Haley. So your username, Haley, is H Calendar. So just H, and then your last name. And then your password is super hard. It's just your first name. This is Haley. All right. Okay, my friend.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
we'll see you later.
Bye.
Just 1 second, sweetie. Let me just.